welcome to episode number 20 of The Witching Hour. I am Perri Nemiroff. This is Haleigh Pouch, my co-host.
Hello.
Haleigh, are you pumped for today's episode?
I am. 20 is a nice round number. I feel good about it.
It's a nice round number.
Topic.
And the topic, I feel like, came up in like a weird way where we were tossing around a whole bunch of ideas, but you guys basically know what happens towards the end of the year. We've got all of our traditional end of the year lists, and we will have an episode that recaps the best horror of 2018 and also our most anticipated horror movies of 2019, but we wanted to do a little something different. We wanted to give love to like more specific things that you might not really think of, or maybe just some familiar list-making type topics that we just wanted to have some fun with. So
we just want to celebrate all the horror, not just the very best.
Exactly. That's how it should be year-round.
Yes.
So we have a long list of stuff to cover here. Should we just jump into it? I feel like we should.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to go with our first category of the episode, and that is Best Kill. Do you want to take it first?
Best kill. So I don't have one. I think the running theme will be there will be many.
We can do whatever we want on this show.
We make the rules here, Hotshot. Yeah, I think that'll be a running theme. It's probably multiple answers for each one. I guess at the top of the heap is kind of, so here's something we should decide. How much spoiling are we going to do?
Ooh, that is an important thing to decide.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't necessarily think we have a choice.
Right.
Especially when it comes to kill scenes. So
yeah.
That's a fair point to bring up. I guess in that case, this is your warning.
This is a spoiler heavy.
We're doing a list. We're recapping the entire year of the horror genre right now. So, if we mention something during Best Kill, someone probably died in that scene.
Buckle in, folks. Yeah.
That's all we got for you. That's all we can do.
There are going to be a lot of movies talked about. I will try not to spoil anything too obscure because less people would have seen it.
And we start with the most spoilery topic possible.
I know.
But so it goes.
Yes.
We did our best.
We're doing it. Hereditary. Take, honestly, most of them, but especially the decapitations.
Yeah.
I can't say that I've had such an intense physical, visceral reaction to anything as much as the first one, which caused me to audibly gasp and like throw my hands in the air and freak out. And then Toni Collette's, which like I could feel my heart soaring and my skin perspiring. A24 put out that graph of people's heart monitors at the end of the movie. That. I felt that.
So when I wrote down Hereditary on my list, in parentheses, it just says all of them.
Yeah.
But to have a little fun here, let's say I had to rank the Hereditary kill scenes. I think, so I've got 3 that I want to point out here. I think I would actually put, okay, I lie, I'm changing my mind. On the spot, crazy things happening on The Witching Hour. I'm going to go with... This is so frustrating. I don't know why I just did this to myself. I'll go with the Toni Collette one first, where she
at the
does
bottom
that
of the
little
list.
At the bottom of the list. But not to say that that's the worst. These are just my 3 favorite things, and I felt the need to rank them for no logical reason whatsoever. So I'll put that one there, and then I'll put the decapitation scene next. It caught me by surprise in the best possible way in terms of this type of movie. But part of the reason that moment is so seared in my brain is because of Alex Wolff's performance.
Yeah.
Just how the camera just sits on him after. And it's like after you experience that terrible, terrible incident, then you got to basically do what his character is doing. And
that puts you in his shoes.
With the realization of what just happened. I actually think the one that made me the most uncomfortable, though, is when the father gets it.
That is so surprising to me.
Something about that just something about that. He was burned alive. That freaked me out. And he was also one of those characters in this movie, one of very few who I kind of felt for.
Yeah.
He seemed so hopeless, too, and he wanted to try, and there was nothing he could do. I knew it was heading down that path for him, but then just that shot and that frame, too, because this also might have something to do with the fact that one of the stills that was circulating was her standing there with someone on fire. Right. And just that visual in particular, I don't think I'll ever shake.
Huh. That one did not have that impact on me. My list would be, no, not reversed, completely jumbled.
Why shall we confuse ourselves like this?
So
do you want to throw out another one, or should I?
You go right ahead.
All right. So my next one is Suspiria, and it is the mirror room scene.
Sure.
I've really never seen anything quite like that in my life, and if you want to learn more about how they made that, there is this incredible featurette that's somewhere, on the YouTubes right now, and it basically covers not just that scene, but every single gory effect you see in that movie, exactly how they made it happen. And even though now I have in my brain that actress, and it's like at one point they put on a fake arm so it could look like she's
CGI'd out,
and she has a green sleeve on, and
crazy.
I saw that, and then I rewatched that scene, and even knowing it was movie magic, I still have a very hard time looking at it.
It's very strong. It's so funny that is what they trotted out to CinemaCon to show
Bold move.
Theater distributors. It's so funny. I love it. I'll never forget just Twitter erupting with people saying they wanted to lose their lunch over it.
And I get it, too.
I do, too.
I really do. I didn't feel that way, per se, but I understood where those feelings were coming from.
That's where I go like, oh, I have problems, because it doesn't really affect me very much.
Sometimes I think about that.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, that was pretty intense, man, but I feel fine.
Yeah. That's like most conversations I have with like anybody else in my life except you.
Right.
Do you have another one you want to throw out? You got a good list here.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I want to talk about a smaller one first, which is Apostle on Netflix from Gareth Evans. And have you seen it?
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. Well, you guys are in luck, because anything Perri hasn't seen is going to be light on spoilers. He has a contraption that is used in the film as a sort of a punishment type death. They call it a purifying, and it's just so hard to watch.
How was the movie overall? I heard slow burn and then kind of goes crazy.
Yeah,
is that accurate? All
That's
right.
pretty fair. I really liked it. I definitely feel that you see the faults of it more on Netflix than I did in the theater.
Oh, interesting.
It's like in the theater, I was really caught up in it, and then watching it at home on the smaller screen, I was like, oh yeah, that pacing is kind of weird.
I actually haven't heard that type of analysis of a Netflix movie.
Really?
Most of the time, whenever we're talking about streaming versus theatrical, it's just to use Roma, for example, it's like beautifully shot. It deserves to be seen on the big screen.
Sure.
But hearing something like a pacing problem coming through on, let's say, maybe your iPad or a small screen versus the theater is interesting.
Yeah, it definitely played different. I mean, also, I had already seen it. So, like, I do feel that often I'll notice pacing problems more the second time around. I really like it, though. I definitely think it's worth watching. And Dan Stevens gets to go full hog crazy.
He is so good.
He is.
And it still feels like, even though he has so many exceptional performances on his resume, it still feels like he's undervalued.
I know.
I
It's
feel
crazy.
like we don't talk about him enough.
I mean, maybe it's because he covered his face in Beauty and the Beast, but, like, he was the star of one of the highest grossing films last year.
It is incredible how quick I am to forget that.
Yeah.
But it's true. The next one on my list, we'll go back to big studio films. I had to put Halloween somewhere on here, and it took me a really long time to figure out what I might go with, and I couldn't decide between two. One of the scenes that I really love is when the friend Oscar dies, and what they do with that kind of, not strobe light, the motion sensor light.
Yes, that's great.
Outside in the backyard. I think that's just a great moment of actual sheer terror, but also this playfulness that I really love in my slasher films. The other one that really freaked me out is the close quarters kill in the rest stop bathroom.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that is just as sick as this sounds, a beautifully shot sequence where you feel so trapped in that stall with her, and he is just this hulking figure that is boxing you in. And even when Aaron comes in, like, where is she gonna go?
There's
what
no
is
hope.
she gonna do? Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no hope, and you know it the second she's in there and his boots appear from under the door.
No, that's incredibly visceral. I think my favorite from that film, though I hadn't had it on my list, would be the babysitter. It's just when he comes out of that closet, it makes such an impact.
That whole sequence is so much fun. I mean, if we could make a category for the best laugh in a horror movie, I would say the Vicky and Julian scene is. Yeah. I mean, and actually, not even just putting it within the genre, but of the year, I think that's probably the best one of the best sequences, hands down, of 2018. Just the way it all blends together and the two of them playing off each other. I love that one too.
Yeah, it's really, really well crafted. I guess it's less of a kill and more of a build-up.
I think that's why my mind didn't go there immediately, because that is my favorite scene of the entire movie.
And of course, the one take.
The oner's incredible.
Yeah, the off-camera hammer blow I like quite a bit.
It's a good one.
It's so weird to say that.
It doesn't it? But like,
I like that quite a bit.
It's our life.
I know.
Just own it. Just embrace it. Do you want to hit your other ones?
Yes. Okay. So, Annihilation, which praise be to the movie gods that even exists. I still don't understand how, but there are a lot of really great ones. I was, very torn between Scream Bear taking off her jaw, which is super intense and bloody. But I think I'm going to go with what they find on the camcorder when he's cutting the other man open, and you see his insides all swirly twirly, and then you see the aftermath of that blown out on the wall. That's probably my favorite.
That's some like really effective filmmaking work too. I think I have to go with, of those two, Scream Bear, though, just because that I've never seen anything quite like that, and that's yet another thing that it was seared in my brain. I couldn't stop talking about it, and I was just kind of fascinated by it.
Scream Bear, I definitely think, is the superior, monster creation, but in terms of depicting a kill, I've seen someone get their jaw ripped off before. I haven't seen someone been cut open, have their insides look like snakes, then you see their body blown out into this incredible, almost topiary of death. It's
my
wild.
brain is operating in pull quotes now, and it's just like, I've seen someone get their jaw ripped off. I was just,
I'm owning it, Perri.
It was in the Suspiria featurette too, where her jaw gets dislocated, and they show a behind the scenes thing of the prosthetic needed to make that happen. It's fascinating.
It's a really cool video. Definitely
it is a really
seek
cool
that
video.
out.
I might have watched it quite a few times since it was released.
It's amazing that they spoiled all that too in a video. I know it's in theaters and everything, but not that many people saw it.
Think about it, though. The people who did go to see it are probably people like us who were already seeking it out. And maybe there's a whole bunch of people out there who are thinking, maybe I can't handle this. And maybe showing the movie magic behind the moment will give them the encouragement to maybe take the plunge. I don't know. I'm just guessing
I hope
here.
so. I can't wait till it's on Prime so I can talk to everyone about it.
You could talk with it, too, if you want.
Yeah. I may have a screener. I'm not saying I do talk to it. It talks to me.
One more for you?
One more for me.
Another spoiler light one. I'm embarrassed to admit.
Revenge, which is fantastic. It's on Shudder.
I have Shudder. I've had so much time. What am I doing?
Shudder
I'm seeing movies
do
for
tend
junkets.
to
That's what I'm
fall
doing.
by the wayside, unfortunately. I don't know why. It's just I'm making a list right now of all the horror movies you probably missed this year or might have missed, and a huge percentage of them are Shudder films.
Crushing it. Did you see they just also announced their Stephen King library?
No,
There's
but
a
that's
lot
great.
of Stephen King adaptations in there, and I'm pumped to start burning through them.
So, Revenge, in a spoilery-free... the plot of the movie is very simple. It's a sexual assault revenge film, so these men are unkind and horrifying to her, and then they receive horror in turn. And one of them in particular, the most egregious, trying to be spoiler-free, of them is handed his lot. There's a showdown between them that plays out on a mountainside with big, big guns and big, big cars, and it's spectacular.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny. I should jot down what's going through my brain right now and see if it pans out that way after I actually watch it.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. That was only one topic.
Yep.
We have so many we wanted to cover. So the next one is best fight sequence, and I'm glad we did it this way because then we could differentiate based on kills versus fights.
Right.
Although, so I'll start with my big one first, and really it could kind of fall into either category, and it's a movie that you could and should watch on Netflix right now. It's The Night Comes for Us. I really have never seen action sequences constructed quite like that.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't stop, too. It's like, when you see something and it's really well done and you think you could watch it for forever and then it's done over and over and you get bored of it. Mm-hmm. This is basically 2 hours of just more and more and raising the level with each fight sequence and throwing in different characters and other things that you could never imagine somebody would kill someone else with. I really, just one scene after the next in this movie blew my mind. If I could highlight, I'm going to choose to highlight 3 fight sequences. And I'm not ranking them, I'll just go in order of the movie. So there's a scene at the very beginning where our heroes are kind of holed up in an apartment, and there's just a million bad guys at the door, and they keep coming, and there's
really
so
do.
many, and you think that they have no chance. They can't go through. I mean, dozens and dozens of guys against, what is it, like 4 or 5 of them in that room?
Yeah,
something
it's
like
insane.
that. And they just plow through them, and it is incredible. The other one that I love is the one with the 3 ladies.
Yes.
I think all the fight choreography in that scene is great, but the reason why I'll never forget that is because of the use of one kill object. It's her wire. That moment where she's like kind of holding it back from choking her and her fingers get cut off. I'm just full blown explaining it right now. That, above anything else in the movie, got the loudest audible response from me. I think I was standing here at my silly standing desk, and I think I'm like, no, and then it happens. And the other one is the big fight at the end, the 2 of them going against each other. After every single hit they take, you think they're going to drop, you think that's going to be the end, and it isn't, and it just keeps going on, and the 2 of them are just, they're exceptional in so many ways.
They are. It's one of the best teams of on-screen fighters you could assemble. That's why The Raid did it first, and then they were like, hey, you guys are great. Let's make another movie with all the same people.
I don't know if I can ever say no to that.
No, it's fantastic. I would like to just single out, because I would agree with all those scenes. I also really like the scene in the butchery. But
that's another good one.
Just because I've said this before, but you think you know all the things you could use to kill someone in a butcher's shop, but you don't.
No, you don't.
You haven't thought of them all, and they did, which is pretty impressive. But in the first scene you were referring to, where they are, they take the attack in the apartment, I really want to single out
Bobby.
Yep, exactly, as Bobby, who his hallway fight is really just so spectacular, and he kind of steals this enormously long movie in very few minutes.
His character melted my heart.
Yeah.
I
Somehow,
really
even though
felt
he's
for
just
him.
a giant force of violence.
I know. But there's something about him and his performance and the look on his face and how loyal he is, and it's hard. It's hard
He
not
sure
to
can
root
take
for
a
him.
beating.
They
all
that's
can.
for sure. Yeah, really. You next? Or
Yes. So we have all the same.
I just noticed your note.
Yeah. Same. Ooh, which one?
I'll let you pick, and then I'll wrap it up with the third one.
Okay. I'm gonna. Oh, they're both so good. Okay. Let's do Upgrade, which has some of the. You wouldn't have thought that movie would have some of the best fight scenes of the year, but it really does, and it's all. I mean, no, it's not all. Great job to the choreographers and stunt people as well, but it's really his performance, Logan Marshall Green's performance, that makes the fight scenes so special. And the one we have here is the kitchen scene, the first big one where he has Stem take over his body and fully realizes what he's capable of. And that just as well could be in Best Kills as well.
That's
when
true.
He drives the knife through the guy's face.
No big deal.
Yep. But it's just... Lee Winnell, do more action.
I know.
Please.
I mean, really, and it's not even like we've seen him do something similar before, and this is him honing his craft.
No.
I feel like this was a technique that he was capable of, that he was almost hiding from us. Where have you been in terms of action movies?
I think this has been a passion project of his for years and years, and he just finally was able to get it made.
Good for him.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful we have this movie. This is probably also one of my favorite surprises of the year. Not that I walked into it thinking it was going to suck, but when you're talking about a movie that, maybe isn't on the studio level getting a whole bunch of buzz, or even something along the lines of John Wick, where it felt like everybody was talking about it for maybe like a month before it came out. This feels like people were seeing it. There was some light positive buzz before you went into the actual theatrical release, and then once it came out, it really kind of caught fire, and everyone's talking about it. I'm seeing it on a whole bunch of end of the year lists for various reasons that are already coming out now, and I'm thrilled for it. That kitchen scene is freaking phenomenal, though. And it is definitely the way it's shot. I mean, the way he captures the back and forth between Logan Marshall Green and Stem, and the way the two of them talk together also. He really is such a talent. And the fact that that scene is so brutal, but he also has on-point comedic timing throughout the entire thing, kudos to both of them. That's a brilliantly crafted sequence. Last one in this category, I get to take it. It is Strangers Pray at Night. Not the whole movie. It is just the pool scene. I don't think it's a terrible movie. I didn't love it. I was like kind of right in the middle of it. But the thing is, this pool scene is still one of my favorite scenes of the entire year. Yet again, it's like another visual feast. And especially when you have a character at the center of it who... I wasn't quite rooting for him. I didn't want the heroes to die or anything, but I never really looked at him thinking he was a capable brother who could save the day. And then all of a sudden he barrels into this pool sequence, and it's just in the water, out of the water, all these vibrant neon colors, and the what's the song that plays with it?
Total Eclipse of the Heart. Is it Total Eclipse of the Heart?
I'm pretty sure it is.
I think so, yeah.
But the combination of all of it just created this... It was almost like a fight sequence that I never wanted to leave.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, if the whole movie was like that, it would have been one of my favorite movies of the year.
I know. Isn't it crazy that that scene is so creative? Not that the rest of the movie isn't creative. I actually think what they do in the end has a fun spin to it. But there's certain other things that happen in the beginning that feel so stale to me.
I think it very much by design was a throwback film, but it got stuck in doing a lot of things that were just throwback, you know, whereas that pool scene felt, yes, like a retro feeling, but also, like you said, creative and innovating within that space instead of just mimicking things we've already seen before.
I feel like what a shame.
I know
why didn't they all do it to that extent?
Having seen Bad Times at the El Royale, I'm also like, you done Lewis Pullman dirty.
I know.
Like, he's great.
I'll tell you, when we were making up these categories, I was trying so hard to put Bad Times at the El Royale, because that one's still firmly in my top 10 of the year. I was looking for a reason to put it in here. I'm like, well, it's got kills, and I don't know, but that's why.
Juggernaut made Cabin in the Woods.
There's one that we'll get to eventually, and I'll admit that is in here because I was trying to include that in above all else. But the next category we've got here is Best Villain, and you have more than I do here, so I'll let you take it.
Cool. I will obviously not do the one we share. So this is a stretch of the term, but slightly accurate. The bent neck lady on Hill House. And she's not technically a villain, but in terms of like what was used to scare the shit out of you this year, nothing was more effective for me than that ghostly apparition, and the reveal of her true nature is also very heartbreaking and really worked for me. I love everything about it. I didn't sleep right for a while, truly, because of how that character ties into sleep paralysis and her own problems. Yeah, that one messed me up like proper but good.
It's a good call. I wasn't having my mind open to TV, but I feel like I could find a way to include Hill House in every single category for one reason or another. The one that I actually only had one on my list, and the one I had on my list is Michael Myers in Halloween. And you guys know, I loved that movie. I loved the movie the first time I saw it. I love what it does for the mythology of the franchise, and I'm curious to see where they could take it from there. But I also I really appreciated, one, how rewatchable it was, and also how it takes the time to further not only Laurie's story, but Michael, too. It's almost like they're getting kind of like dueling character development side by side throughout the entire film, and I really like what they added to Michael, and I know that the whole Dr. Sartain thing got a mixed reaction from some, but his question of, or not even question, but his desperation to hear Michael speak was really, it really got in my head, and I was fascinated by that because I could feel it too. I wanted Michael to speak when, you know, even though you knew he didn't say anything to Allison, when she goes like, don't you want to know what he said to me? I'm like, I want to know what he said to you, even though I knew it was nothing. So just this whole idea of wanting him to speak, but wanting to maintain that mystery and the pure mystery of that character and not knowing. I like how it balanced both of those things. And also just this idea of not necessarily clarifying exactly what Michael is doing and why. I think the movie still maintained this idea that he is a force of nature, he is a wrecking ball, and he will kill whatever he feels like killing.
Yeah, he was great. He was also on my list. It's my favorite part of the new Halloween is how they handle Michael Myers. I personally don't give a fuck what he wants to say. I don't care if he talks at all. I have no interest in that, which is probably why the Sartain thing didn't really work for me.
I don't want him to say anything.
I wouldn't even care what he said.
But I want to know what he would say. None of it makes any sense. I know.
I don't. No, obviously it makes sense for a lot of people, including the writers of the film. I don't care. Like, I don't care what he has to say. That's not what I'm here for. So the Sartain thing doesn't really work for me. As I said in our spoiler cast, though, I do feel conflicted on that because I could see it becoming something that I love down the line. I don't really care for it now, but it feels like the kind of big swing that I will find more rewarding as the years go by.
Interesting. The fact that you say that makes me even more hopeful for the next film.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm curious. It's clearly making another Halloween movie is a tall order.
Yeah.
I feel lucky enough that we got this one, and now they're doing it again.
It's going to happen. And Halloween sequels, have a really interesting legacy.
That they do.
We'll see how that goes.
Real
quick about Michael Myers, what I like above all else, he's just terrifying. He's just... scary, proper scary. Like, if you saw that man in your backyard, you would freak out.
He feels like he can't be stopped.
Right.
That's what and that's actually part of the reason why I love that shot with the hammer so much. It's because by using the Steadicam and not breaking away from him, or not breaking away from him very often at least, it's almost like you have that momentum with him, and you know that anything that's in his path is going to get taken out.
Absolutely. And there was a lot of discussion on whether he was actively seeking Laurie Strode in the film, and I don't believe that he was at all. I believe that the winds blew him her way, and that was just bad luck for her and her family.
I agree with that.
So the final one for me would be, I'm going to be a little cheeky and say not what I wrote down, but in Suspiria, I'll tie it together. I'll tie it together. In Suspiria, I will say fascism was the best villain. And fascism took the form of Helena Marcos. And she is ultimately revealed to be this just absolutely repugnant representation of every kind of self-indulgent, me, above you. Just, she is the iteration of disgusting fascism, and I absolutely love it and revile it.
It's incredible how just on the surface you could not put any thought into it at all, and when you see her, you have that reaction.
Yes.
And then you have the same reaction when you know everything that comes before, and really what she is made out of. And it's a freaky reveal, that's for sure.
She's truly revolting. Yeah. Like the makeup artist
she's really hard to look at.
Yeah, really. Which is, as we were saying, like, I wasn't really affected by the mirror room scene, though I admire it and I see why people are. But when I look at Helena Marcos, I truly want to look away. Like, her design does have an effect on me.
Her design is also in that featurette I've been referencing, so go check it out if you want to. Next category. Yeah. This is a good one because I feel like we've had a really good year in this department, and it's Best TV Show. I'll just jump in with the one that we've already referenced, and it's The Haunting of Hill House. Yeah. I feel, not to take this too far, I feel so freaking lucky that we got this show this year. I feel like we almost, I don't know, we didn't deserve it or something. It came out of nowhere to me, and all of a sudden it was here, and it was really this something special. I mean, we get so much content that we're were given it in a way that you could binge it. And you just know that feeling when you get content that you can binge and it hits that perfect note, strikes that perfect chord, and you get so obsessed that you can't turn it off. I mean, it's a really difficult feeling to put into words, but when you're laying in bed at night, you've watched 4 episodes, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, you know you should go to bed, but you gotta click next episode. That's what Hill House did to me.
It's really special. It's like the kind of thing that makes me message you while I'm at my cousin's wedding. Like, why am I not watching Hill House right now? And you need to start watching it immediately.
By episode update.
Yeah.
It's also got characters that just really kind of tugged at my heartstrings. I fell in love with this family, and I want to, even though it doesn't seem like we're going to get it, I want to spend more time with them. And if that means going back and rewatching season 1 of Hill House over and over, I'm probably going to do it.
Yeah, I'd like to hear your thoughts when you do revisit it. It's a very interesting experience. As you know, our listeners and you probably know, I'm terribly unfond of the ending. But even with that, I love that show so much. Like that's a testament to how much I love the rest of it, that I can truly, truly hate the ending and be like, yeah, but I still love the show. It doesn't have any effect on my bigger feelings about it. I just hate the ending. And the characters, even the ones that I want to strangle, I love them. You know, like family. Sometimes you just want to slap the hell out of someone.
Name drop Steve. It's fine.
Steve and Shirley sometimes
he's not going to be upset.
Shirley sometimes too.
Shirley wound up being one of my favorites.
She's a little bossy know-it-all, and I've got a problem with that.
She's definitely bossy.
I did not have multiple siblings, and so I do not like being told what to do, and Shirley and I would not get along.
I only have one sibling, and I still don't like being told what to do, especially by her. Sorry, Lonnie.
Right, fair enough. Yeah, I do. I love all of them, even the ones I want to backhand. It's a really beautiful thing, and I don't know it's stuck in my brain. You say, I don't know if we deserved it. That's an interesting sentiment about art. Like, do we deserve good art? I don't know, but I'm glad it came this year because I feel like I needed something in this year that really was emotional and cathartic.
I think about that a lot. Do we deserve it? And when I say do we deserve it, sometimes I take a step back and I look at just... I feel like that statement usually comes from me in terms of the general state of the industry, and it almost feels like especially as a horror fan, because if you're not part of this inner circle and you're on the outside, it's like, ooh, well, like a generalization about horror genre, it's not going to be good. It's only this kind of thing. You never get any depth or anything. And then we get something like this, and like it's a weird backwards mentality where I think I've heard those generalizations so much that when we get something that's as rich as this, I'm like, something we did not deserve. Like I feel that way. I'll just say my second one because I feel the same way about Channel Zero.
Oh, yeah.
I think it is just wild to me that we have such a high-quality horror anthology show on Sci-Fi. Mm-hmm. I mean, just all of it together. Because also, if you want to talk about generalizations about Sci-Fi, it's not that they make quality content. It's that they send you off to, I mean, like, very general statements.
I'm just going to have to, I'm going to have to come back at that.
Of course. I do.
That's an outdated perception of the network that they did breed themselves.
And they put themselves there, but they're actively working to get out of that. And Channel Zero, I think, is part of the reason that they're going to get there. But, these antiquated ideas, they stick around for a while. Even though this industry is constantly changing and trying to do something different, this is why every single step you take is so important, because those old ideas stick around for forever. And that's why they talk about if we get a new celebrity and that actor is only in horror movies, all of a sudden he or she is like the horror movie person, and they can maybe make in between those horror movies a whole bunch of dramas, but everybody still looks at that person as the horror movie person. You know what I mean?
Especially for filmmakers, I feel.
It is very difficult to break molds in this industry.
It's very true. And Sci-Fi has been rebranding for years, and it still hasn't really stuck. People still think of it as like Sharktopus Channel, stuff like that.
I swear I listened to that conversation between my mom and dad all the time because my dad's a big Sci-Fi fan, and every time he has Sci-Fi on, my mom's like, oh, another one of those. Like, no. And also, of all people, my mom would love Channel Zero.
Oh, it's so good. I mean, that show is fantastic, and I loved this Sharktopus days. I like that stupid shit, but I love what they're doing now even more. They are, even though, as we discussed on our last episode that Night Flyers isn't essentially a home run. It's a big swing, and I appreciate it, and it's a bold swing, and they put a lot of resource, and they treat science fiction and genre with respect in a way that a lot of channels don't, which is something that Netflix also does. They have an enormous genre lineup.
Yeah, no, it's very true, and it's in both areas. It is going to continue building, and I'm looking at those two, and basically just looking at my watch, waiting for Shudder to get in on the game.
Yeah. Oh, it's only a matter of time.
I know. You got some more.
I have more, yes. Speaking of Netflix and their genre content, Santa Clarita Diet is one of my favorite. I think it is one of the most underrated comedies. It makes me hoot and holler. It's just so funny to me.
I loved season 1, and then for whatever reason, it's probably a time management issue. I never got around to watching season 2, but hey, maybe, that's pretty much what the holiday week is for. That's coming up, is that I burn through everything. So not hard, but top priority is Marvelous Miss Maisel, and then I'll start going through everything else.
I love that show, and Timothy Olyphant, who knew he was so funny. He's so funny, Perri.
I believe it. I know.
You saw the first season. Who knew that he was that good at comedic timing when he's made a career out of playing creepy weirdos.
This goes back to exactly what we were just discussing, because I had that with Rose Byrne, where I was never really taken by any of her performances, and it was kind of like a whole lot of mopey roles, one after the other, and I just was not into her. Then all of a sudden I saw her in Get 'Em to the Greek, and I'm like, wow. You got something here. I like that. And then she just kept delivering and delivering and delivering. And then not only did I have a full appreciation of her comedic sensibilities, but that kind of bled into everything that she does. She just has such charm and charisma, and I just needed her to slowly chip away at me until I saw that.
I love her. I think she's one of the most underrated performers out there right now.
Again, not horror, but you should see Instant Family.
I intend to.
She is so funny in that movie.
I'm surprised how many wonderful things I've heard about that movie. I'll get to it.
That movie is like the definition of a movie that leaves you with a smile on your face.
I like that.
And your heart full.
Need that. All right, and last one for TV. I'm a big fan. I was actually just debating this with my dear friend Clark Wolf last night, who hated it. But I love it. The Terror. I love it.
I remember Clark saying she hated it.
She hated it.
That's another one I haven't gotten around to watching. It's slow, right?
It's so slow. Yeah. It is so slow. It's a straight up fancy ass British drama, but with scary stuff in it.
So I feel like The Terror came out right around, now the name is escaping me, the Tom Hardy show. That's super dark.
Taboo.
Taboo. That's what it was. And I think it was when we were doing TV Talk and Makuga wanted me to catch up, and I did a major binge watch of Taboo, and I was just I was just bored to tears, and I couldn't.
Better than Taboo.
There's parts that I think are still good about that show, but I could not jump from one super slow show to another one.
Very fair. This one, it's going to be really hard when I write my final list whether this or Hill House is going to end up at number 1.
Ooh. The fact that it comes that close for you makes me want to check it out.
Oh, I think it's incredible.
Do you think
truly
I'll like
extraordinary.
It? You know my taste.
It's hard to say. I wouldn't have thought that I would like it because I hate fancy British dramas. They're so boring. I loved it.
Okay.
It's got a weird monster.
I like weird monsters.
Really intense, it's just all the ways you could die that are just nature or disease or cannibalism or pestilence. It's like going mad. It's just burning to death.
A little of everything there.
Falling off of high things. It's just like, look how frail the human body is. Boy, don't you die all the time.
Oh my.
It's really intense.
It's really weird to have these discussions and to say sentences like that, but have this episode of Witching Hour feel like it's boosting my spirits because it's celebrating a genre that I love so much.
I understand. I understand.
We still got so much to hit.
I know.
Best kick-ass performance. Why don't you take this one first?
A lot of them this year.
I know.
I'm going to start just right at the top. Natalie Portman in Annihilation. Never seen such a small person handle a big gun so well. My goodness, when she goes down on her knee and unloads on that alligator thing, what a boss.
Yep.
What an absolute boss. And having, as you did as well, read the book, that's a tough character. She's often unlikable.
Oh, my God,
She's very challenging and complex and doesn't even really like herself very much. But she's the emotional through line, but she is also very much a kick-ass ex-soldier, doctor, genius type woman. And Natalie Portman really, she really knocked that out of the park, and she had to do it sort of in an understated way, I feel.
Yeah, I would definitely, I would second that one. And the one that I'm going to throw out now is a movie that I would say is probably one of the most underseen movies of the year, and it is Unsane.
Yeah.
It is the movie that Steven Soderbergh made by shooting it on an iPhone, probably with many fancy lenses. But Claire Foy is freaking awesome in that movie. That is a very difficult movie to pull off for a number of reasons, but above all else, you need a powerhouse to command that screen dead center, because I mean, she's pretty much in almost every single frame of that movie, and it's just that movie's effect to put you in her shoes, wrap you up in what she's thinking, and it's this constant struggle between not knowing if what she's thinking is true or not, and the fact that Claire Foy can kind of consume you in all of that and never let you go, and never let you get frustrated with that too. I was looking forward to seeing how it all panned out, but one way or the other, I liked her. I liked being in her shoes, and I liked exploring her headspace.
I think she's incredible. I never did see the Spider's Web movie.
Neither did I.
I don't think anyone did.
You know what? This is probably part of the problem, because we're both huge Fede horror fans.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying because the movie isn't horror we didn't go see it, but you know, we're his fan base. And if we didn't go out to see it, maybe that's part of the reason why it didn't make money.
Maybe. I don't think it was. That's a really interesting case. I mean, it didn't clearly net the horror fans, because horror tends to have like a built-in sort of amount of millions you're going to make, no matter how bad your movie is. It didn't seem to net the paperback readers, who are another people who would be interested in continuing this story of this character that they love so much. I don't know. It's a really interesting thing, but the number one reason I wanted to see it was Claire Foy seems so perfect to play that role.
And even the early clips they released and the first trailers, it all looked so good.
I mean, when I went on set for that, we got to see the...
you did that.
It was the one day in Berlin.
Oh, that trip.
Yeah, they showed us the costume designs, and unfortunately, that embargo never lifted, so we never got to print that.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
what
specifically
shame.
The costume designer. But... what amazing, truly incredibly gorgeous work he was doing with the costumes in that film. We're on a tangent a little bit, but that makes me really want to see it too. Like, he could, if that movie had been a hit, I would not have been surprised to see like a Spider's Web tie-in fashion line at some distributor, because the clothes are so amazing.
I wish I could read that interview.
That's a little side rant.
Not a bad rant there.
And I will next go for Miss Emily Blunt in A Quiet Place, who...
Good call.
What a wonderful performance. And to be giving birth silently, step on a nail silently...
Oh, the nail kills me.
...and make your way up to the bathtub silently... What? You don't get more badass than that. That's just insane. And she makes you... It is truly insane. Like, that's a hard thing for me to believe that it's even possible, but Emily Blunt makes you believe it.
Yeah.
Like, that you could silently step on a nail. I don't even think that's possible, but I believe her.
I wonder, but I don't wonder.
Try it out.
No, thank you. I would extend that honor to the entire family. I was just recently thinking about my favorite ensembles of the year, also because we were recently talking about what they're doing in terms of for your consideration for A Quiet Place, where they're putting all four of them in the supporting categories. And, you know, it's a movie like A Quiet Place that makes me further recognize what a shame it is that the Academy Awards don't have an ensemble award, because the four of them as a family unit, they're just so strong together, and they have so much chemistry together. And I think she is exceptional, but I also think all four of them have these moments that are just shockingly natural and good, and that's part of the reason why that this, an out of this world type scenario feels so real. It's like it's got that high concept vibe of how would I fare if I had to be quiet and there were monsters out there? But then I very specifically cared about these 4 people and their past and how this current situation is testing their relationships in much deeper ways than we usually get.
Yeah, I think they're great. I don't really tend to care about kid performers as much as you do. You're always really excited by them.
Good.
Yeah, I don't.
They're so good.
I'm more about
Noah Jupe is like easily one of the actors in his age range that I'm most excited about right now, because he also saved the day in Suburbicon for me, a movie that I did not like, and I thought he was excellent in it. He's also in, sorry, I clapped in the microphone. He is in a movie that is going to be at Sundance. Now, the name is escaping. Oh, no, he's going to be in the one with Shia LaBeouf and Lucas Hedges. It's the 3 of them listed on the cast list. And
all right.
This kid, he's going places. I'm telling you.
Good for you, Noah Jupe. Yeah, children, not for me. But John Krasinski, very much for me.
That's fine. Next one?
Yes.
Let's just say Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween.
Yeah, we both got that on there.
She's on both of our lists here. Like, what a freaking kick-ass woman in so many respects. I think, again, jumping off of what we were talking about with Michael Myers, I really love what they did with the character of Laurie in this new Halloween movie. I really do love the idea of it extending to 3 generations and seeing her effect on her daughter and also now her effect on her granddaughter, too. There's something about the ending of that movie that makes me think and almost want Allison to be going down the same path as her grandmother. Like, she's scarred and she's clutching that knife and she doesn't want to let it go. So I'm very intrigued by that. But Jamie Lee Curtis is fantastic in the movie. And there's an extra layer to how much I appreciate her, just because with the promotion for Halloween, seeing her out and about talking about this franchise that so many people out there know and love and have much respect for. And she treats it that way, and how encouraging she is at every single event she speaks at. She has a really, really good effect on this industry.
Agreed across the board. I've loved watching her do this press tour, and what a gift Jamie Lee Curtis is. And I've said this before, but I think the best thing that Halloween has done for us is give us back Jamie Lee Curtis on top of everything. She hasn't been gone. She's been working, but she hasn't been in the spotlight. And you haven't been seeing her spread her smart words around as much as she has this year.
Scream Queens came and went quicker than I thought it would.
It was fun.
I mean, that role was fun for her, but that role is nowhere near as rich as this one, obviously.
Right. No, she couldn't have done better.
Next up, do you want to take one or should I?
I'll take one because I have 2 and you have 1.
Okay.
Another one that you haven't seen, I believe, yet, Mandy. Nicolas Cage.
No, yeah. And there might be a good reason for me to see Mandy sooner rather than later.
Yes. I actually wrote down Nicolas Cage, but I'm going to extend this to both of the leads, Nicolas Cage and Andrea Riseborough, who both have to do very different kinds of heavy lifting in the movie, and both bring a lot of presence and heart and guts to their performances, and then ultimately a little bit of madness too.
Doesn't surprise me with either of them. I also saw Nick Cage in Mom and Dad this year.
Yes.
And that movie is a surprising amount of disturbing fun, and he just sinks his teeth right into that role.
Oh,
he really
does
that with any role he takes. Because I was also thinking about that recently with Into the Spider-Verse. He voices Spider-Man Noir, and the way I had described it was the amount of fun he was having voicing that character is just like oozing off the screen. You could feel it. And I feel like that's how he approaches everything he does. And Andrea Riseborough is also one of my favorite actors working right now. Everything I've seen her in right now, Mandy not included, but everything I've seen her in, even though I'm so familiar with her, I always need a moment to readjust and realize, oh, that's her again in a completely different role. She's completely lost herself again.
She does it every time. She really is a chameleon. Nicolas Cage, I don't know how much he has fun. I'm sure he does, but I think he takes it all real serious.
Yeah?
The hokey pokey scene in Mom and Dad, his like sort of famous quote that I also got from him when I talked to him for that movie was like, he was channeling this old rage that he had from elementary school when they would have to do the hokey pokey, and he thought that it was exclusionary towards other abled kids. He thought it was messed up that they couldn't do it with them. So he channeled all that anger into singing hokey pokey while destroying a pool table.
I'll never watch that scene the same way again now. That's a good one.
He's a character.
He really is. He is. You want to hit your last one?
Yeah. Quick nod to Wyatt Russell in Overlord.
Another good choice.
Who is just... He's so much fun in that movie, and I do confess to being a bit in love with him, so I am biased. But I watched all of Lodge 49 just for you, Wyatt. It was pretty good.
I forgot that was a thing.
It's not bad.
Yeah? I almost watched it, and then I didn't.
It's not bad. He's doing Kurt Russell in that movie, essentially, and maybe he's not doing Kurt Russell, but he looks so much like his father and he sounds so much like his father. It's very hard not to perceive that.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell being one of my all-time faves in the history of cinema, that was a pure pleasure for me.
Bringing up Overlord makes me realize we should have had, a best creature effect thing on this list because, what happens in Overlord is something absolutely incredible. And actually, to bring up Overlord again, I'll put it in the... it was fight sequence, so my mind didn't go there. But one of the best action sequences I saw in a horror movie all year is the beginning of Overlord, which is just brilliantly framed and blocked. And that it really is just one heck of a way right off the bat to send your heart racing.
Insane energy in that scene. Oh, what a thing to pull off. That must have been so hard.
I was so impressed.
Yeah.
The last two I have here, I'll go light on Logan Marshall Green because we already praised him in Upgrade.
Yay.
But the other one I want to give a shout out to is Madeline Brewer in Cam.
It's a good one.
I have had my eye on her ever since Hemlock Grove because Hemlock Grove, in my opinion, kind of crashed and burned, but she was this little ray of sunshine, and I believe it was season 2 where I was really liking her. She's also in Orange is the New Black, and now she's crushing it in The Handmaid's Tale, but Cam was a very fascinating project to me, and she is front and center in that movie, start to finish, and that is not an easy role to take, where I feel like... So she plays a cam girl, and her account is mysteriously overtaken. But most of the movie, it's really just her acting to a camera like a cam girl, and her processing all these things without another actor in the room. There are co-stars in this movie that she interacts with every now and then, but so much of it takes place in the space where she shoots her videos, and she's really just talking to a camera, interacting with people, typing to her in a live chat section. She really crushed that movie.
I also would like to single out the fact that she has to play Alice, her real character. She has to play Lola, who is who Alice is when she's online. And then she has to play Lola 2, who is the doppelganger created based on Lola. And she nails them all.
She really does. Yet another one I would probably look out for. Okay, so I'll let you take this next one first because I didn't fill in my... I didn't see that. It must have happened later in the day.
This just the biggest what the fuck moment of the year.
Yes.
I think the hands down winner has to be the dance scene in Annihilation, the doppelganger dance with Natalie Portman. What the fuck?
If you knew how many pieces I read about that scene, I spent so much time doing that.
That is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in a movie. And are you kidding me? A studio film? What?
I know.
How did that happen? It's amazing. I think it was when we had Aaron Benson and Justin Moorhead. They were like, you should just put that last 30 minutes in the MoMA. And I agree with that.
That's a good one. I would probably put that on my list, and definitely your next one would be on my list as well. The Suspiria ritual.
Yeah.
I mean, really, almost that entire movie was a big what the fuck movie for me. There were so many things that... It's like I thought I was doing a good job of putting together all the basic beats of the story the entire way through, and I would feel like, I had my feet on solid ground, and then all of a sudden we would get something like the mirror room scene, or we would get something like the ritual scene, and it was like, it's basically like shaking you awake, and it's freaking frightening. And really, I mean, that is a moment that I can look at that screen and probably not out loud because that's not appropriate, but I'd be like, what the fuck? That's the reaction that I got from that one.
I understandably so. That was walking out of that movie was like, oh, so that's going to take a month to process at least.
I had a what the fut. That's how we say it. So we don't get the explicit rating. I had a what the fut reaction to The Night Comes for Us pretty much all the way through.
Really?
Because that's a similar thing where it's like I don't mean in terms of like, batshit crazy supernatural type stuff, but every single time they found a new tool to kill someone, I'd be like, what the fuck?
Fair enough. Yeah. So Suspiria definitely right behind Annihilation for me. Like, and then there's one that's not out yet that I did see at Fantastic Fest.
Yeah.
Not a surprise to anyone who knows Gaspar Noé's work, but Climax is just 90 minutes of what the fuck.
I opted out at TIFF because it's probably not for me.
I really like it.
Yeah?
I do. I hate the last 10 minutes, but that's just because of a stylistic decision that I think is really like flagellating. It's really annoying.
I'll see anything and everything. It's just a matter of, when you're at TIFF and you're kind of paring down your, any festival and you're paring down a list and it's like, well, I don't really want to see that one, so I'll go see that one. And
I
Climax was not at the top of my list.
I made it out to that screening. It was a midnight screening, and I was so sick. That's how much I wanted to see it. I crawled out of my little hovel and went to see it. They gave us shots of sangria. It was good.
Whatever you got to do to power through.
Yeah.
Next thing you have down here is scariest moments. You have a whole bunch of ones, so I'll just say I think that the scariest moment, at least of TV, this might be one of my favorite scares of the entire year, actually, across TV and film, but I don't think I had a jump scare reaction like the one in episode 8. And I keep obsessing over it because we're always having that debate about the value of jump scares and films that use them just for the sake of using them. And I think anybody who uses a jump scare in their film or show should go to that and see how it's done here. Because, one, it is a true jump scare that makes you jump, makes you scream. It made me scream. It made me check my loft to make sure that no one was up there before I went to bed that night. But it is a jump scare that it is rooted in the character development and the specific moment. And it's a jump scare that serves a purpose, that pushes the characters in a necessary direction. That's the combination you should always have.
Agree with all of that. I think it's a really excellent jump scare. However, it is just a jump scare. So the ones in that show that really messed me up were the more psychological scares. As I've said, the sleep paralysis stuff with the bent neck lady really, truly messed me up, like in a way that I'm honestly kind of mad about. Like, Flanagan, we need to have some words. Don't do that to people, but also very impressed by, oh my God, that's amazing that he was able to do that to me. But also don't.
I'm surprised you didn't put Unsane on this list. I remember
that's true.
You were schwitzing during that movie.
Unsane, the final confrontation in the Blue Room was very upsetting for me on a personal level as well.
Wait, where?
In the Blue Room.
Okay.
Yeah, what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That conjured. That was more. You're right. That should be on there, but that felt like anxiety, like pure upset. Like, I don't want to be relating to this so much. And I'm going to try to power through these real quick because we are low on time. So the ending of the first episode of Haunting of Hill House, Steven sees a ghost. When Steven sees a ghost, that gave me super full body chills, really well executed. And in a way that, like, when she makes that face towards the camera and her face goes all gray, I would, if you had told me about that on paper, be like, sounds cheap, sounds stupid, but it works so well. Hereditary, as I mentioned, Toni Collette cutting off her own head. I truly felt that in my body.
I cannot believe that's not a GIF yet. It probably is if I actually search for it.
And my last one, The Endless, wonderful, wonderful film that everybody should see if you haven't, is now on Netflix. And I don't want to spoil it because I feel like not enough people saw it. So I will just say it's a film that deals in... Well, that's a little bit of a spoiler, but suck it up. It deals in time loops, and the shortest time loop that you see in that movie is really horrifying.
Speaking of the endless, I purposely put the category best location here because the camp that the endless takes place in. I just really wanted an excuse to bring up the endless. And I mean, really though, the way that they play with the geography and also the way that they make that camp feel like an eerie mixture of safety and acceptance and everyone getting together, but also keeping you so on edge all the way through. I love that combination there.
I would also expand that a little bit to say the full region, not just the camp, but the region in which the camp exists is built with no money to have such a rich mythology. Really incredible.
Something else.
Yeah.
Do you want to add one location?
I do. I would like to say the Dance Academy in Suspiria and the use of Berlin in Suspiria. That movie doesn't function without its location.
That Dance Academy is so well constructed visually, too.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It is insane how quickly, even though there's secret passages and things are dark and you have the mirror room where everything's reflected, but there's something about that whole academy that feels like the geography is so well laid out right from the beginning.
It's so, I love it, love it. I wish I could visit there. I wish it was a real place, and I would totally become a ballet dancer.
You probably would.
I was looking at all the different Suspiria posters that they released yesterday, just for fun, and they actually released a batch that I had never seen before that were their shots of the Academy.
Really?
Yeah.
I have to look those up. They had a whole bunch of really
So
cool posters
many.
for Suspiria. We had one more category we wanted to hit, and hey, you know, it's the end of the year. I don't like ending things on a negative note, but... Yeah, there's the worst movies out there of 2018 in the horror genre, and we bring them up not so we can necessarily bash them, but how about let's learn from them? Let's learn from our mistakes and do better in 2019. And the only one I'm going to pinpoint is Slender Man. And I didn't like the movie at all. You have this creepypasta idea, and the whole nature of creepypasta is that people together come up with this idea and then grow. It grows together, and you get to explore new creative opportunities. It felt like they just were boxed into what the most commonplace version of Slender Man is, and they take it nowhere, and they just dig into more and more genre tropes. I was very, very disappointed with that movie, but you know what? That didn't pan out. Creepypasta is alive and thriving in Channel Zero. Find another creepypasta out there, studios, and adapt it well.
Agreed. I will not harp on that since we did a full podcast about it, which you can go back and listen to, and it's full of a lot of reasons we did not care for that movie, how it was made, how it disrespected the real life events, how it... I don't even think we got to talk about how it was chopped to hell by the studio at that point. Yeah, it's just a perfect example of what not to do in all possible ways. The other one I did want to mention is unfortunately the Cloverfield paradox. And I don't really like singling out movies to say you're bad, and that's not what I'm trying to say about this film. It's more I want to look at the process by which how that film came to be, and superimposing Cloverfield onto another film to make it fit. I love Cloverfield, the first Cloverfield.
So do I.
I'm obsessed with that movie.
I think I'm in the same boat.
I've seen it way too many times. I was obsessed with the whole campaign leading up to it, the mystery of it, and why take your franchise and then just force it? Just force other movies to be a part of it instead of taking what people love about the first film and growing from there. That's more what I want to single out as opposed to saying, like, you did bad and you should feel bad.
Yeah.
It's more like respect the franchise more than they did with their last two choices. Cloverfield Lane turned out to be good in spite of the process, but I still don't like the process by which it was made, you know?
I know, I hear you with that. Making a movie is a really tough thing to do. Sometimes you have to take big swings, sometimes you have to use unusual tactics, and whether your intentions are good or not, maybe it doesn't pan out. But the benefit is this industry is here to stay, and you can always look back on these movies that didn't work out, and then you can learn from them and make them better in the future. So hopefully these not-so-good movies of 2018 pave the way to better movies in 2019 and beyond. How is that for a positive spin?
That's a positive spin. I'm going to add my own.
Let's hear it.
We only listed 2 movies that were the worst. Like, this was a really, really good year for horror.
Now that you say that, I don't think I would slap the worst label on it. Like, there were some horror movies that came out this year that I'm like, well, that's not that great. But nothing I would actually call the worst.
Exactly.
Or at least nothing that's coming to mind now. My worst of the year in general for 2018, there's just that on it, actually.
Yeah. It's been a really, really good year for horror.
Well, then,
so
there you go.
You messed up, Slender Man. I'm sorry. That's on you.
But it can be fixed in the future. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this crazy celebration of all the good genre stuff we got in 2018. But again, we're not going to stop. We have a couple things to cover next week. I believe there might be a Bird Box review in your future, but we will have a straightforward best horror movie of 2018 list for you. And we're also going to cover the most anticipated of 2019. So you have that to look forward to. But that's it for now. This episode is done. Haleigh, where can everyone find you on the internet? You can find me on Collider, where you can also find for the next month all the freaking year-end lists you could ever want with your little horror-loving heart. Yep. You can also find me on Twitter at Haleigh Fouch and on Instagram at Haystack McGroovy. And you guys can catch me on Twitter and Instagram at PNemiroff. I don't know. I can't think of anything specific to plug, so I'll just leave it there for now. Thank you guys so much for listening. As always, don't forget to like and share with all your genre-loving family and friends. Thank you so much for checking out this episode. You have officially survived the witching